Okay, so I am going to now talk about MOTS. It is mandatory when we are licensed by the state to provide these services, we are expected to comply with the MOTS reporting. MOTS reporting is meant to show progress and I don't know, progress and maybe lack of progress. And they use that data to try to help us in the future by making recommendations. Like peer support is a big recommendation because it is linked to better success rates. And that came out of using these reports and this data, mining the data for some things that link together. Oh, okay, so clients that had peer support seem to have strung more time together and maybe completed their services or didn't give up. They relapsed, but they came back. So that is, in a nutshell, what MOTS is. So the client comes in to the RAC and has a mental health assessment. The first MOTS should be completed at the mental health assessment. For mental health, all that is necessary is page 1 and page 2. You do nothing on page 3. So let's look how that goes. So this is a new client. He just is opening the episode. His prime number is prime. I don't think it's going to let me leave that there. Now, county of residence versus county of responsibility. These are usually going to be the same, except for maybe the residential clients that are here from out of county in women's res or men's res. So they may be residing in Lane County right now, but the county that's responsible for paying for their treatment is Columbia County, because they came to us from the feds. And they're here in treatment and they need some mental health support. The gender, marital status, race, ethnicity, date of birth, and veteran status should automatically be populated onto this document as long as the demographics module was completed thoroughly at the time of intake. That's the caveat. If it isn't there, it's because the intake wasn't completed properly, which is bad. Client treatment status. From the time the episode opens to the time of the very last MOTS, it's gonna their treatment status is gonna remain active. So even if they're leaving mental health against staff advice and they're still engaged in SUDS, they are still active. They are considered active because we report by episode, not program. So sometimes it's going to be that they dropped out of everything. But if they are still, or if they completed SUDS services but are still active in mental health, they continue to be active. Employment is a great way to show progress to the state. The client's getting better enough that they now have a job. That's a good time to do a review. They come in and they're all excited, I got a job. The maximum amount of days that you can go between MOTS reporting documents is 90 days. You can do them every 30 days. If the client is making a lot of progress and you're real happy about reporting it, you can do that. Or you can go about 90 days. That's 3 months. And like I said, it's really, really cool to show progress by marking that they got a job or they got their own house. Okay, let's say they came in and they were transient, homeless, and unemployed. All right, this is the opening MOTS. And we're going to submit. Oh yeah, I didn't think it would. Letter. AA. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to submit. Yay! All right. So the new one here is, we're still reporting the new one. This is the date of admission. The date of admission is always going to be the opening of the episode. It's not going to be the day they came into mental health. It's not going to be to the day they left men's res. It's always going to be the day that when you look in the program history, it's the date that the intake was done. It's, in this case, we know that this client started on 10/28/20 in, I think it was at the rack. This individual has some income of public assistance and maybe some disability. That should populate from intake, but oftentimes it won't. If you know that they have no insurance or no money coming in, you put the 0 there and check none. And right here is a sort of a little direction right here. If you enter 0, you have to check none. If you enter 1, like $1, you have to select unknown. Okay, it won't let you put $0 and select unknown. You can put $1 and select unknown. And if you don't know, you don't know. You put in the $1 and check, I don't know. So expected actual source of payment, there's only really 2 options for us. It's going to be other government payments, which is grants and other public funding streams, or it's going to be Medicaid. Right now, anyway. Hopefully at some point we'll be getting paid by private insurance, but right now, not so much. Total number of dependents. If you are unsure about the total number, count only the client. So that would be 1 dependent and 0 children. Now, if you know for sure that the client has 1 kid, then this must be a 2, because the total number must be greater than the amount of dependents. I can't tell you how many times I find it saying 1 and 1, and it makes me just want to rip my hair out. Primary health insurance, if you have put in a prime number on page 1 and you've selected Medicare right here, you're going to select that their primary insurance is Medicaid or Oregon Health Plan. If you try to enter this here and you have no prime number on page 1, it will stop you and say you can't do that. Referred from, oftentimes they're self-referred, or they came from the feds or child welfare, or maybe the integrated treatment court or mental health court. Those are the options. And referred to, we refer every single client unless they have no criteria. If they don't meet criteria for any services, we would put in none. If they meet criteria for services or want mental health services, we refer them to, we are a community-based mental health or substance abuse provider. That's who we are. On a personal level. Interpreter, for most people it will be none, but you may have a hearing impaired individual and they come with their own interpreter. Pregnant for men should always be non-applicable. Tobacco, I'm going to say this, if you've been having them come to one-on-one services, you probably can tell whether they smoke or not, because I sure can. This is the only place on the entire document where they talk about tobacco use. It's the only place to record it. Substance abuse in the last 90 days, if they aren't in services and nobody asks, you're going to put unknown. The assessment should have legal information in there. It's built so that it has the total number of arrests this month, DUIs. So it is built into the assessment. So if you don't know this information, that's where you can find it. So we are going to say this individual is on probation. They've had a total of 6 arrests, of which 1 was a DUI. Highest school grade completed will sometimes show up as a random set of words. Some college, no degree. High school diploma. That's wrong. This box always has to be a number. If it's some college, no degree, it's going to be 13th because they did some college, but the first degree is an associate, and that comes at 14. Okay. If they have a bachelor's, it's 16th. Anything over that, apparently the state doesn't care. So this individual was 13th. These questions, academic improvement, attendance improvement, and behavior improvement, does not apply to adults. This is for children or adolescents that are receiving mental health care. So for the adults, it's going to be non-applicable. Now, there should be a list of diagnoses here. You can see there aren't any right now, which is going to end up being a problem. Trish, if you're there, you want to throw a quick diagnosis in this file? Peer-delivered services. The very minimum it will ever say is that they were informed that we have peers. Never put none or not applicable. They're always told we have peer support. So that's just, there's never a reason to put not applicable or none. Infectious disease risk assessment, if it's straight mental health, you guys don't do that. It's not mandatory for your files. Treatment plan indicators are always going to be, we want to educate them about what's happening to them, and we're going to provide other kind of treatment plan indicators. There's going to be anxiety, there's going to be depression, there's going to be substance use, there's going to be all those other things that we're addressing on the service plan. But we're also addressing the education. We want to educate them on what's happening for them and assist them in figuring out how to get better. Mental health current LOC, it's not mandatory. You can choose to fill it out or not. It's all it ever is outpatient or residential, and we are always outpatient. Okay. This score box, it's not a thing anymore, so you can't fill it in. This LOC level of care score was something that was several years ago, and we don't do that anymore. I'm not going to be able to submit this, I don't think, because there's no diagnosis. Oh, wait, maybe there is.
There should be an outcome.
Yay, Trish! Thank you. Okay, so we submit, and I always go back and look, make sure what I put in there makes sense, submit through the page, look at this one more time, make sure I filled everything in, submit. Now, if you are mental health, you select not one single thing on this page, okay? Don't put in the documentation type at all. It can have a bunch of information in there, but if you don't pick anything up here, it doesn't transmit and there can be no error. You skip right past substance abuse to signatures. You cannot submit through. It won't let you without filling it out. And again, start at the top of the document. And you're reporting for mental health. So you submit from this page and from the behavioral health. When you submit, it automatically takes you to the substance abuse page, but you just skip right past it onto signatures over in the wizard, okay? And then you sign it off. Okay, comes 90 days and you need to do a review, it's the same document. You add a review, you add another one. And this time it's going to be a review. Everything stays the same, except for maybe now they've moved into Lane County. They live here now, so it's going to be matchy Lane. And they got a job. They are still active. All of this stuff still applies. And check it out. They have gone into alcohol, drug-free housing, and that happened on, well, I can't date it in the future, so we're going to say today. So they're no longer living on the street and they have a job. That shows progress to the state. So again, we start at the top, we mark review. The date of admission doesn't change. The amount of income is now changed. So we're going to say whatever, it's now $950. So they have disability, some wages, and they're probably still getting food stamps. Other government payments no longer applies because they're not on a grant anymore. Their services are being paid for by Medicaid, so their primary insurance is Medicaid. Again, we make sure that all of this information is correct. Maybe we did a referral to community housing, or we did a referral to food stamps. You can check any referrals. Any place that you sent the client to get some services, you can check in this referred to. Tribal affiliation doesn't change. These questions, if you know for sure, God, I'm so excited, I haven't used, I'm living in this recovery place, I've strung together the longest time I've ever had, I've been clean now for 100 days, put in there no. Probation is probably, if they're still on probation, my guess is they probably will be still. It's only been 90 days, but maybe they aren't anymore. Maybe they completed their probation. You can put that in there too. Again, you pick the most recent diagnosis available to the client, and maybe this time they got some peer support. You saw that the peer support program is open in the program history, and you want to mark it. So you can say that they got some peer support, you submit, and again, you go to the signatures. And start at the top, Susie, take your own advice. And you enter your signature. So now you've done a new and a review. Okay. The final thing would be when the client episode ends. That means that you are closing the last open program in the client's file. If that is the case, you are going to be doing a review, and then you are going to determine, did the client complete successfully, or did they leave against professional advice, or did we say that they aren't appropriate for our facility? Maybe their symptoms are too significant and we referred them out. Or if in the case of substance abuse, maybe they got a bed somewhere outside of here. So that would be transferred to another program. Sometimes they go to jail, and you can put that in there too, but only on the final review. If you are the last program open, mental health is the last program open, the last MOTS that you look at says that the client is active, then you have to do one that tells that closes this episode of care for the state. Okay, we can't just leave them open. So they have to get a final review that says what happened at the end of this episode. Were they successful or what? So once that is done, you don't need to worry about anything else. Trish and I pull batches, Trish and I make corrections, Trish and I resend the corrections. You don't need to worry about it. Do your best work. We do the rest. And we have some how-to guides. If you would like them, they're available to you. Lots of how-to guides.
Susie, first of all, thank you so much. I don't have further questions, and this was very helpful for me. I guess I do have one question with the MOTS. If, because I'm directing staff now in mental health services to be doing these MOTS reviews at intervals, and curious, it's okay to have more, right? So say a SUDS person did it. It's not that we necessarily have to look to see that there was one. Another one could be done, it sounds like, even if, ideally not 2 days later, but you know what I mean. Does it show, like when I go into this file, will I see that one was done 2 days ago?
Yes. So if you go to Clients, MOTS Data, and MOTS Submission Document All, you will see the history of all of the MOTS documents that have been opened since this individual opened an episode. So in this case, this one would say 10/28. This file the episode opened on 10/28/2020. This would be one in January, and then this closing one would be in March.
Perfect. Okay. So unless we had something significant, we may not have to do one if it's there recently.
Correct. Okay. At minimum every 90 days. You can do it more often.
All right, perfect. I don't have further questions, and I think that this, first of all, I just really appreciate you taking the time to walk everybody through this, for recording it. It's really helpful for me when people can go back and refer to these materials. And now I have a really good understanding as well as I'm helping support the team. So thank you.
You are welcome. I appreciate everybody coming, and I hope you learned something from the time that you spent with me today. I would hate for this to have been a waste of time.
It was not. Very helpful. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish, so much.